some miracles. This one goes out to the ones in need.
And now, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance led by 11th grade Newark Tech student Kelsey Moore. And now, please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Unbelievable. Really unbelievable.
Fantastic job, Kelsey. Thank you. Now, please welcome the mayor of Newark, your mayor, Raz Baraka.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm just here to welcome everybody to the city of Newark, those who are not from our great city. And I want to thank Newark Tech again for allowing us to be in this space. And I want to thank the great governor, Governor Phil Murphy, for being here with us today. We haven't had a town hall in Newark in 8 years, maybe more. So we are excited that you're here with us today. There are a lot of things that we need to go over and talk about, but we look at the governor as a partner of ours. So thank you for being here with us. There's a lot of things that we can accomplish together. I think I have the job of introducing somebody else, the Assemblywoman, Pintor Marin. Right, come on up here. I just guessed that, you know. I just looked at her and saw her face, but here you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. So can we give a round of applause to our mayor? Mayor, the best mayor. Just want to say welcome, everyone, to Governor Murphy's Town Hall. Thank you all for being here. For those of you that are from Newark, thank you. For those of you that are not from Newark, this is the best city in the best county, and we make sure that Governor Murphy knows that every day, especially when we're working on the budget, correct, Governor? We look forward in working with you, Governor Murphy, in the next couple of months to make sure that we have a great budget. And I have the great task of introducing one of the best senators that I know. But before I do that, I'm going to run through a list. And if I forget anybody, I promised Paulina that I wouldn't say her name out loud. But Assemblywoman Spate is here today. Assemblyman Caputo. Assemblywoman Timberlake. Assemblyman Johnson. County Executive Joe DiVincenzo. Freeholder President Brendan Gill. Freeholder Vice President Richardson. Freeholder Bobby Mercado. Freeholder Levy Jones. Best Sheriff in the world Armando Fontura. Former Freeholder President Joe Parlavecchio. And I know that Mayor Ryan is here, Mayor Patrick, Mayor Voss, and Mayor Venezia. Thank you. And like I said, I have the honor of introducing one of the best senators, and I have to say that because she is my senator. But she is one of the best senators, very strong-hearted in education, and that is Senator Teresa Ruiz.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Pinter Marin. So I have an easy task. I think I have an easy task because I get to introduce someone who really, when we talk about good government, strong government, government that we can point to that acts on behalf of people, I can point to our county executive. But before I get to my formal responsibilities, I too, on behalf of District 29, alongside with the mayor, want to welcome you to the largest city in the state of New Jersey, to the best city in the state of New Jersey, to a city that is seeing an incredible reawakening of greatness that we as Newarkers always knew we had the potential and the growth, and that's why we're here, and we're believers, and we're moving forward in that direction. So I welcome you to the greatest city right here in an institution of our vocational school system that affords high school students an opportunity to really change their pathway in life. Education becomes a great game changer and can change the trajectory for any human being so long as we afford them the best possible resources in a classroom so that they can move forward in their abilities. I also see freeholder Janine Bauer. I'm not sure if you were mentioned or not, but I want to pick up in case. Well, another round of applause for you then. And so when I think about this budget process and this new administration, the governor and I often text each other, and it's really focused and centered about educating our children, how we're going to come together and create policy and numbers that positively impact every child, no matter what county, what city, what community they live in the state of New Jersey. And most importantly, right now, in talking about the education system as a whole, we've had the ability to highlight early childhood in a way where we haven't done so in the state for several years, except last year we started getting towards good numbers, and I'm very encouraged about that, Governor. We know that when we take care of a human being from zero in the start of the mother's womb to career, that we create a stronger economy, that we create a stronger future for this Garden State. So to the governor, I look forward to working with you in this administration and moving the people of the great Garden State forward. To our county executive, who will come up next, I want to say, you ever need to look at good government, visit one of our park systems, visit one of our school systems, come even serve jury duty, because it is an extraordinarily different experience than it ever was in the past, and that's because we have a man of vision and leadership at the helm at the county. Let's welcome County Executive Joe DiVincenzo.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you very much. You know, on behalf of Essex County Governor, the 800,000 residents, the 22 municipalities, we want to welcome you, but also thank you for being here tonight to be with the people and answer their questions. And on behalf of the Essex County Newark Tech School of Technology, Teresa talked a little bit about it. We have 2,200 kids that go to school. Right now we have 4. Of course, we're building a brand new one in United Hospital thanks to the state of New Jersey. I want to thank you. You know, and these kids that go to school are doing very well, and we're very proud of them. This is the best vocational school in the state of New Jersey. To my partner, Mayor Ras Baraka, you know, I was born and raised in the city of Newark. I worked my entire life here, and this is probably where I'm going to die. But I couldn't be more happier to have a partner like Mayor Ras Baraka. This county, but especially this city, is moving forward, leaps and bounds. Mayor Ras Baraka can't do it alone. He needs to have a team. I'm part of that team. Our legislative team is part of that team. And we all have to work together as one. And that's what we're going to do in this county, and that's what we're going to do in this city. I have 3,500 people that work for me, that without them, we wouldn't be anywhere right now. And I got a great freeholder board that we work cooperatively together under the leadership of Brenda Gill, our president, Wayne Richardson, and all the freeholders working together. In reference to Governor Murphy, 2.5 years ago, we sat down with him, Donna, at myself, Leroy, Phil Elijah, at McClune's. And he turned to me and he said to me, you know, he's a big shot. He says, I want to run for governor. I said, you crazy. Continue making a lot of money. Why do you want this job? It's going to give you headaches. The state's not in good shape. But he said he wanted to do it. And guess what? He was committed. He was committed to be governor and do things that I don't think anybody can do. Now, he's only been governor for the last 3 months. He presented his budget. All I can say is a year and a half that he was on this campaign, everything that he talked about, that's what he presented in his budget. I never, ever thought that would ever happen. That doesn't happen when you... Now you have to work, of course, closely with the Senate and the Assembly. You know, we have all Democrats that are in the House, and all I can say is the only ones who could screw it up now is ourselves. All right? And the thing is, we got to work together. Governor Murphy and his wife, Tammy, they're very good for the state. I couldn't be more proud. The only thing I always say all the time is, Governor, everything you said you were going to do for us in Essex County, you have done it. You know our saying, putting Essex County first. Just continue to do that. We are behind you 150%. Governor Murphy.
I was going to use my other phrase, good government is good politics.
You can use that.
Hey, everybody. Let's get up one more time. I say this often, that I wish the state could work like Essex County. County Executive, it begins with you, Joe DiVincenzo. I have to echo everything you said, and thank you for your support, your friendship. I have to echo everything you said about Mayor Baraka. I think he's just doing an extraordinary job. Newark, and there's lots of data points, is absolutely headed in the right direction in a big way. And you're incredibly kind to come out tonight because you've got a debate tonight. So please don't let any grass grow. If you've got to sneak out and get ready for that. I know some of you here are going to want to go and watch that as well. But Mayor, thank you so much for your leadership, your support, and your friendship. So, Senator, thank you for your very kind words. And early childhood education is one of many areas where you and I have bonded, and that will continue to be the case. And Ileana, thank you for your leadership. And in particular, an incredibly important seat as the chair of the Budget Committee in the Assembly. So to all of the dignitaries, freeholders, constitutional officers, Assemblyman Tom Giblin has joined us. Great to have you here. Essex County Chief of Staff Phil Elijah is in the back checking some soccer scores. Phil, good to see you. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight. We got a lot of brothers and sisters in labor in here, so it means a lot that you all are here. Thank you for coming out. Before I jump in, a couple of sad notes. First Lady Barbara Bush passed away, so God rest her soul. Our flags are at half-mast in her honor. She, I think, was one of only 2 women in the history of our country to be both married to a president and the mother of a president. She and Abigail Adams, which is pretty what party somebody may be in. And secondly, sadly, I got the word this morning that my friend and our friend, Assemblyman, a great guy, Jerry Green, passed away. Jerry Green is a Union County, Plainfield guy, a really good guy, had a 5,000-watt smile. I think the best smile in New Jersey. Had a great style about him, smart as a whip, great public servant. He passed away this morning. When we get a sense of the services, we'll lower the flags in Jerry's honor. So please keep him in your prayers as well. You know, Newark is not a place that is abstract to us. Brendan Gill is not only the freeholder president, but ran our campaign, and he will attest to this, that we centered our campaign in Newark. So our headquarters were in Newark. Both our upstairs office and our street front presence were in Newark on Broad Street. I have 2 offices as governor. One is in Trenton, and one is in Newark. And I've spent most of the day today in Newark. This is a community in so many respects. As it goes, so goes New Jersey. And I mean that, and I'm here tonight in a government capacity, not in a political capacity. But just to make the observation statewide, I mean that both as a political matter. Mr. Payne, nice to see you, sir. Always an honor. As a political matter, but more importantly, as a governing matter. I thought Joe was going to have another one of his phrases, which I love. Good governing is good politics. Don't worry about the politics, worry about governing. And if you govern for the people, as you all do in Essex County and in Newark, the rest of everything else will take care of itself. And I think that embodies the very best of New Jersey leadership on our very best days. We also, by the way, talk a lot about how we're going to get out of the mess that we're in, and I'll get to that in a second. But you're going to hear me talk a lot, and you probably have already, about both the innovation economy and the urban economy. And if we move the needle on those economies, and I would say alongside those, the infrastructure economy, we'll get New Jersey back to where we need to be. And so I'm thinking to myself, Joe, as you're giving your remarks, and the senator and the assemblywoman and the mayor, I'm looking up and seeing Newark Tech. And that says it all, right? So it's vocational technical. It's the exact sort of skill set that our young people are going to need in the innovation economy. And it's right here in Newark. It's a crown jewel example, built in 2004. I said to Joe, the gym feels like it was built last week, given how fresh it is. But it's one of many. You've got a great vocational system here. Mayor Barack and I were in New York City. They gave us the day visas to go across the Hudson yesterday. We were together, and we were talking about NAN Tech World a few miles from here. So there are these are not either-or economies. It's not like you're going to do the innovation economy out in some suburban office park, and then you'll take care of the urban economy in Newark or Camden or Patterson or Trenton. We could do these economies, and we in fact must do them co-located. And that's what gives me so much excitement, and why I get so thrilled about the prospects for our urban economies generally, but specifically for this one. So I want to talk for a few minutes, then we'll throw open and take some questions. Does that sound all right? And fire away. We got Brianna. Samantha's our boss tonight, so she's sort of the foreman tonight, or the forewoman. We got Brianna. We got, who's over here? Petra. We got Marilyn. Where are you, Marilyn? In the back. And we've got Hillary somewhere. So when you have a question, when we get to it, just raise your hand, and one of the four of them, and Samantha will be there keeping an eye on the rest of us. We'll grab a microphone and we'll put it in front of you. And again, I can't thank you enough for coming out. There are a lot of things you're going to be doing tonight. It's a busy time of the year. Ted Green's got a big 100-day event in East Orange. The mayor's got his, right, East Orange? Let's get it for East Orange, right? Mayor Barack has got his debate. There's a lot going on, so I'm humbled that you all would come out and join us. Let me give you a little bit of bad news. Can I get that off my chest? And then we'll get to hopefully some good news. And that's a good order to do it. So here, let me begin with the bad news. We inherited a mess. Just no two ways about it. Okay? So we're a state that hasn't grown. We're a state with inequities that have gotten as wide as any in the country. We stopped funding the things that we used to do naturally. And even when it did work, our state worked for very few and not for all of us. So that's a tall order to inherit. You know, things like underfunding the school funding formula by over $9 billion with a B dollars over 8 years. Things like the reality, you see it in Newark as well as anywhere in the state, we have the widest white, non-white gap of persons incarcerated in the United States of America. We're a state that stopped funding women's health. We're a state that vetoed gun safety bills one after the other, that turned its back on minimum wage and earned sick leave and equal pay for equal work. We haven't grown. The credit rating agencies over those 8 years downgraded us 11 straight times. If we had just grown at an average growth rate of an American state in that 8-year period, we'd have probably another $20 to $50 billion of economic activity, and that would be probably $2 or $3 billion more state revenue, and we've got neither of that. So we've inherited a mess. That's one piece of bad news. Second piece of bad news is we got to battle Donald Trump every day of our lives, right? And we're doing it, by the way. There is good news here. This book's going to have a happy ending, I promise you. But we had 8 years where we're digging out of, and we've had for the past, an administration for the past 15 months, and in our case, as Joe said, 3 months, we're battling this every single day. whether it's in the environment, whether it's in immigration, whether it's public education, you name it, whether it's taking away people's deduction for their state and local taxes, it's one thing after another. And so that reality is not going away. I would say this, states have never mattered more. I'm going to argue governors, county government, local government have never mattered more. Because it's not just me or the state government, but we're in many cases bonding together to push back against a lot of this. So, again, digging out of 8 years, battling a federal administration that is just outright hostile to a lot of the American values that we all share. And that's a big chunk of challenges that have been put in front of us. There's good news, though, and that is we can push back. Our challenges have been man-made. The solutions to those challenges, therefore, are also within our powers. They are also subject to being man-made. So as Joe said, we put forward a budget. I'm incredibly proud of it. Mostly that it's consistent with what we campaigned on, is the point that Joe made. We didn't tell you one thing to get elected and another thing once we got there. We're not perfect, but we're pretty much the same people you may have met on the campaign trail. We stand for a stronger, fairer New Jersey that works for every family, period. That captures the lens almost entirely of what we're about. Stronger means we have to grow our economy again. Fairer means it has to work, we have to shrink these inequities. And working for everybody means it can't just work for some, it's got to work for all 9 million of us. And that's what we are about. That's what our budget is about. So this is about growing our economy again. It's about shrinking those gaps that have come upon us at great dimensions. And it's about inclusivity. It's about everybody participating in that. Let me just spend a minute or two on that, and then we'll throw it open to your questions. So how do you grow the economy? I've already alluded to this. We are laser focused on the innovation economy, the infrastructure economy, the urban economy. The innovation economy is a fancy way of saying that we used to be Silicon Valley before there was a Silicon Valley. You can look it up. Telecom, technology, healthcare, bio, life sciences. We still have a lot of that, but we lost a lot of our edge to other states that compete with us for those economies. We stopped doing the things that you need to do to allow that economy to flourish, which frankly is a big dose of investing in education. Not the only thing, but it's a big piece of it. So we got to recapture that space of that innovation economy and get that. And by the way, that's not just a bunch of PhDs. That's folks who have a whole variety of educations, including kids who graduate right here at Newark Tech. So that's high school tech degrees, it's community college degrees, it's four-year colleges, and so on. So the innovation economy is sort of recapturing who we are. The infrastructure economy is reminding ourselves and recapturing where we are. We're a state that 49 other states would die to swap in with for us. We're in a sweet spot. We sit beside New York as the largest market in the world. Philadelphia, one of the largest in the country. We have one of the biggest ports in the United States, if not the world. We have rails, roads, bridges, tunnels running through our state. But you can't just put that economy on automatic pilot. You got to invest in it. You got to invest in it, and it's a regular investment. You can't sort of invest one day and walk away and come back 10 years later and see how we're doing. So everything from light rail to filling up potholes to working with our congressional delegations to get the Gateway Tunnel funded. On and on and on. There are projects big and small up and down the state. And I have to say, I'm not just saying it because I'm here. The mayor knows I say it even when I'm not here. You get the infrastructure economy right. There's no community in the state that benefits more than Newark. And there's no county that benefits more than Essex County. And that the other economy which really feeds into both of these, Freeholder Len Luciano's in the house. Len, nice to see you. standing in front of Reverend Derek Green, who looks very familiar back there, even without a hat. The urban economy. In so many respects, you get Newark, Patterson, Camden, Trenton, a few other communities, East Orange and Irvington. You get those communities rolling in the right direction, everything else sweeps over you. You solve a whole lot of the ills that have been up against us. And again, that's not one you mail in. What do you got to do? You got to invest in education. You got to invest in technical education. You got to embrace small businesses. You got to turn back the awful reality of the paucity of minority and women-owned businesses in our state. It's an awful record. You got to do something about criminal justice reform. You need comprehensive criminal justice reform. You need to make our cities safer. You got to sign those gun safety laws that have been vetoed for 8 years. The environment is not just the beautiful ocean or our beautiful lakes or open spaces. It's kids solving the reality of kids in Newark who have a national high asthma rate as a result of, doctor, how are you? As a result of the truck activity in and out of the port. That's environmental justice. It's not just open spaces. So those are the economies that we have the potential. And by the way, when you say, okay, who we are, look in the mirror, Newark or Essex County or New Jersey, and ask ourselves, is the innovation economy an economy that's consistent with who we are? Yes. Is the infrastructure consistent with who we are and where we are? Absolutely. Do we have big urban communities that are ripe for huge expansion in their economies? Absolutely. So it's not like we're trying to play outside of ourselves. So you need a budget. You need an underpinning that allows all of that to happen. I mentioned stronger and fairer. Stronger alone is not enough. We need to be fairer again. We need to be a state that does the things we all know we need to do. Raise minimum wage. We need earned sick leave for everybody. We need equal pay for equal work, particularly for women of color. We need comprehensive criminal justice reform. On and on and on. Gun safety laws passed, women's health funded. We need to both shrink the inequities and get back to standard for the things that we used to so proudly stand for as one of America's great progressive states. So we got a budget that does that. And that's what I want to leave you with. We got a budget that feeds the stronger, it addresses the unfairness, and it makes sure that when it works for everybody and not just some. Now, you got to get the money from somewhere, right? And let me just tell you this, the middle class and the folks who grow up, as I did, with dreams looking up to get into the middle class, have been ravaged. They've paid enough of a price over the past 8 years. It's time to have somebody else pay, and let's make all of our investments into the middle class and into the dreams of those who look up and aspire to get into the middle class. I'm the youngest of four. My dad didn't get out of high school. My mom did. He made sure we cared about the community. She made sure we went to college. They were incredible parents. They did an enormous amount with very little. But without the government putting wind in our sails, I grew up in John Kennedy's and Lyndon Johnson's America, where the government was there to put wind in your sails and not stand in your way. That's what we got to get back to. And we got to make sure the folks who have had it good over the past 8 years, this is not class warfare, but they got to pay their fair share. Let's get back to equity here. So we're going to ask the very wealthiest among us to pay a little bit more and pay their fair share. We're going to close some corporate loopholes that is good hygiene. We're not George Washington here. Plenty of other states have done what we want to do. We're going to make sure the hedge funds aren't getting away with crazy tax deals. The federal government ought to deal with that. If they're not, we will. And we're going to we're not going to stand by and accept tax gimmicks. And I'll give you the best example. I succeeded a guy who had an aspiration in the sort of to be a national player in the Republican Party. So the orthodoxy in that narrative is you got to shrink government. You can never raise taxes even if you rely on gimmicks. and you got to move our progressive soul to the right. And on that point about tax gimmicks, so when they raised the gas tax to pay for the transportation trust fund that had gone bankrupt, they said, well, listen, we can't stand by that narrative, so we gotta cut something to make sure that folks know that in total we didn't raise taxes. So they cut the sales tax by 3/8 of a penny. Not for any good policy reason, but just to fit that personal narrative. You with me? So we say, you know, with all due respect, we're going to undo that. Right? So listen, I don't take that lightly. If you make between $75,000 and $100,000 a year in your household, that'll cost you about $85 undoing that. But here's the deal, and I don't take any one of those dollars lightly. But I'll tell you this, if you stay with us, we're going to invest in that same family multiples of that $85 over the next several years, and that'll turn out to have been the best investment you ever made. Right? So if you stop right there, undo gimmicks, close loopholes, ask the wealthiest among us to pay their fair share. By the way, they've done great over the past 8 years, and Donald Trump's making sure they're going to continue to do great. Right? So ask them to pay their fair share. This is not class warfare. You could raise enough revenue to allow us to make an all-time historic investment in the middle class and in the dreams of those who aspire to get into the middle class. And what do I mean by that? We will begin in this budget the biggest increase in public K through 12 education funding in the history of the state. And we will begin a right? We'll begin a several-year process to finally fully fund the school funding formula. And as the senator knows, at the same time, we have to work with the legislature because the funding formula, which we will fully fund, is 10 years old. And facts have changed. But it is the law. So we got to work with the legislature to get that tweaked and get that into the realities of 2018. So K through 12, all-time historic investment. We will begin the process, as Senator Ruiz alluded to, of universal pre-K throughout this entire state. Now, it won't be overnight. It'll take a number of years, but this budget puts a meaningful amount of money toward that alongside the money that was kept in that the legislature had already put into this. We are beginning in this budget a 3-year process to make community college in this state free for everybody. You don't need it at Newark Tech, Joe, but we also have in this budget computer science for all in every high school in the entire state of New Jersey. In one of my rare visits outside of Essex County, I was in Hudson County yesterday. I just want to make sure you know where I am. And we had at New Jersey City University, we had a really good roundtable talking not about specific to free community college, but how do you make college generally, in this case it's 4-year college, more affordable, more accessible. And so in the budget, you'll see an increase of $1.5 million in what they call the Educational Opportunity Fund. That's a really important program. It's not just dollars. It's a holistic, it's guidance, it's mentoring, and it's helping you along financially. There's another program called Tuition Assistance Grants. We got 3,500 more of those grants in that budget. In each of these cases, this is the first time either of those numbers have gone up in a long time. We're not spiking the football in any of this, by the way. We have a ways to go, but these are meaningful moves in the right direction. So education in all shapes and sizes. When we achieve that universal pre-K up through that universal free community college, by the way, I'm sick of being number 48 or 49 or 50 in the country. We will be number 1, the only state in America that gives you free education from pre-K to grade 14. Now, as I round third and head home, it's not just educational. That's where a big amount of our investment is going, but I'll tell you another one. I'm sick and tired of hearing about the failures of our transportation system. So, and I suspect you are too. So NJ Transit, just think about this for a second. At one point, the state in the last administration cut the funding for NJ Transit by 90%. Not 9 or 90 million, 90%. And by the way, fares over the past 8 years have gone up 36%. And I always ask folks, Armando, I'll ask you, has your commuting experience gone up 36%? The answer is invariably it's gotten a lot worse. This is a third largest commuter rail system in the country. It's the largest bus network. We talk a lot about rail. Buses are more important, frankly, to more people in the state than rail. It's the largest bus system in the country. We went from being the national model to being the national laughingstock. So what have we done? We have tripled the investment, an all-time high investment in NJ Transit. We've changed the leadership. We're doing an audit trying to figure out where the heck did that money get spent. And we're doing, I love it. And I love it, that's me. And we're doing short-term stuff. And again, we can't turn this thing around overnight. But for instance, we immediately added 40 cars into service. Begged, borrowed, and I didn't say steal them, but basically begged and borrowed them to get that. And by the way, it's got to be safe. We got to make sure this thing is safe. And so just take that for a second. That's an enormous investment. So if you stop there for a moment and you said, okay, wait a minute. Look at that lineup of educational investment. Look at the investment in transit. And there's lots of other things about the budget which I'm not going to bore you with. But that's a historic investment, as I said earlier, into the middle class and into the dreams of folks who aspire to get into the middle class. A couple of quick comments before we break. And the mayor and I have talked about this a lot. In a city like Newark, and by the way, this is the best example, but there are many around the state. As this urban economy begins to take off, as these investments begin to pay off, as we begin to convince companies big and small that they ought to be in New Jersey, and if they're not here, they should come here. If you look at through the lens of a Newark, it's got to work not just for the folks who come, it's got to work for the folks who fought and stayed. Let there be no doubt about that. And so we can't just roll out the welcome mat. And this is a danger. Some cities, that's what they turn into, right? You got sort of you got a haves and have-nots, and that's not. Don't sign me up for that. We're all in this together. We rise and fall as one family in this state, and we are committed to that. And the good news is, and I think the mayor and the county executive can support this. Increasingly, companies, big and small, get that. They don't want to be associated with the folks. They're the folks who came in and pushed everybody out. They want to work with the communities, and they want to make sure it works for everybody. And I said big and small a minute ago. Is that Mildred Crump back there? I can't see. City Council President. I didn't see you the whole time. Stand up and take a bow. My eyesight is failing me. Bless you. Bless you. You know, one quick anecdote. New Jersey in the technology space has 15 incubators. You know how many New York has? 179. So with all due respect to the love affair that we have where we just send tax credits out to big companies, and I want big companies to be here and be happy. Let there be no doubt about that. And by the way, I know the mayor, the county executive, all of us are incredibly proud that Amazon's got Newark on their final 20, right? Whether we get it or not, that's a big badge of honor. But let's also make sure while we're getting the big ones, we get the small ones and the startups. We want to make this place a state that folks say, you know what, that's where I want to plant my flag. That's where I want to start. I'll leave you with this. There are two words that are in my head every moment. Value and values. Right? So value. We need to be that state that's good value for money. You say, you know what, it may not be the cheapest place in the country to live, but you get a lot back for that. You get great public education, pre-K, college, transit system works, the roads work. I can get into New York and out or Philadelphia and out. I can get to my job and back. It's not the cheapest place, but it's good value for money. But values also matter. You know, how's this state feel about women's health? Well, we fund women's health. How are they on gun laws? Well, we sign sensible, common sense gun safety laws. How are they on the environment? We care about the environment, including environmental justice. How are they with our LGBTQ brothers and sisters? How are they on immigration policies? Are they enlightened? Do they embrace safer cities and push back on what's coming at us out of Washington? Do they care about our kids? Environmental justice, asthma, funding public education. So those two words drive us every day. Value for money, value. What's the value of being in this state? And values. What do we stand for? We won't get there overnight, I promise you. And by the way, these are challenging times, right? There's a lot of anxiety out there. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of us versus them. And we want to be the beacon when we say, you know what? We're beyond that. We're all in this together. I'm not in church and I'm not qualified, but I'll leave you with one piece of scripture which I love, which is 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Thank you all very much. Mayor, good luck.
All right, Governor, let's get to the fun part. If you guys have questions, please raise your hand and a staff member will make their way to you. Again, if you have a question, please keep it succinct and to the point so we can get to as many as possible. Governor, as always for you, keep your answers succinct and to the point so we can get as many as possible.
I love you.
All right, let's take the first question.
Hey, can I say one thing I forgot to say? These folks need to get a little shout out. Della, you over there? Oh, yeah. This is our constituent services group. So, right? So, why is that important? Because we're going to answer some of your questions, but it's a school night. We're not going to stay here forever. My guess is there'll be more questions than we'll be able to answer. Please go over and visit one of these three extraordinary people afterward. Make sure we know how to find you. We're really good at following up. If we didn't get to you tonight, we will get to you. Think of this as a traveling RV of constituent services that comes around and follows us. That sound all right? Thank you very much, folks. Who's up? Hey, Hillary.
Hi, Governor Murphy. Sarah O'Farrell.
Hi, Sarah.
Nice to meet you again.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you again. You came to a town hall meeting and you answered my question before. So,
where were we? Remind me.
Verona.
Verona. My Verona.
Yes. So I asked you last time about park testing as a parent, and you said you would get rid of it, and it's in the newspaper a lot. But if we could, there's no federal mandate that we use park as a graduation requirement. So if we could get rid of that today, please. Thank you. And I talk a lot. I talk for a living.
O'Farrells and Murphys do.
Yes. And I have yet to meet any parent who is a proponent or enjoys park testing for their children or child. And I think it's a Sisyphean task. And when I see that we have funding problems, if we didn't have park, we could have all-day kindergarten. We could, in my town, we could have...
Are you in Verona?
Yes. I'm speaking as a parent,
yep.
So I don't get in trouble. And yes, I know we have other parents here about the funding, and I know you brought that up in your eloquent speech about values. But if we could get rid of park testing, I know it's a requirement. The federal government says that students must be tested annually in grades 3 through 8 and once. And New Jersey's mandate states that students must be tested in grade 11 for basic skills, and park does not cover that. That's not what it's developed for. So that needs to be redone. It's a waste of money, and now I'm going
Now you're going off stage.
Now I'm getting mad.
Honor. No worries. No worries. All right. So listen, real quick, and I'll give you a quick, because I was told by Samantha, or she'd get mad at me if I didn't give you quick answers. And I speak not just to the governor, I speak as the father of 4 kids under the age of 21. So I want my kids tested. So that's not a question for me. When you and I spoke in Verona many moons ago, that's not the point. The point is, how do you do it? What is the test? What do you do with it? What's the feedback loop? My sister's a retired Boston City school teacher, so she hits me upside the head occasionally when I get things like this wrong. So we're committed, working with the Commissioner of Education, we're committed to, he's already starting to convene interested folks from different perspectives, trying to come up with a better answer, one that does the assessments that we need to do, does it in a way that it's not a whole hog teach for the test, but there's a learning component obviously to it, that has got a shorter feedback loop, which is what I think we've heard and I think we see, and perhaps it's cheaper. I don't know about the cheapness, but my gut tells me we might be able to do it as a cheaper matter.
I hope.
Okay?
Please. Thank you.
To be continued.
Great.
Thank you. Who's up? Brianna.
Hi, Governor. My name is Shania Langford.
What's your first name?
Shania.
Hey, Shania, how are you?
Good. I'm a student here at Newark Tech.
I was going to say, you're wearing the colors.
Student council president.
We got to
as
get
well.
a picture here. Shania, who's taking it? Right here. Here you go. Shania, otherwise known as Madam President.
So as many of us know, attending any institution of higher education can be very costly.
What year are you, by the way?
2018.
2018? So
this year. This is my last year. My last year.
Oh, man.
So as you and your team plan to reinvest in institutions of higher education and community colleges to make them more affordable, you said that the process would take 3 years. However, when will the process begin?
The process is going to begin in this budget. For the free community college, it's effective as of January 1, 2019. So not the fall semester, but beginning January 1 for the second semester. Do you know what you're doing yet or not?
Not yet. Undecided in arts and sciences.
Undecided. Do you know what your choices are yet or not?
I do want to be a lawyer. I will be a lawyer and pursue my career to be a judge.
I love that. I love that. I wish you the best, all right? Let's hear it for Shania. Thanks, Brianna. Hi, Petra. Petra, otherwise known as Petra.
Hi, Governor Phil Murphy. I just would like to say first that you're doing an awesome job since you've been in office. My question tonight
What's your name, by the way?
Sharita Benoit.
Hi, Sharita.
My question tonight is, well, I have several questions. When will the new commissioner for the Division of Youth and Family Services be officially sworn in? And will there also be some changes made in terms of those that are from the former administration that's working along with you, so they will have the same, I want to say, temperament that your new staff have? That's very refreshing.
Got it.
Right now.
Okay, good question. So the commissioner is in acting capacity. She's doing a terrific job, Christina Norbert. And I don't know about when she'll be sworn in, but we're about halfway through the cabinet getting sworn in. But the good news is, when you're in acting capacity and you've been nominated, you're going through the process, she's functioning as though she is sworn in. She's functioning in the capacity as commissioner. And we've got that in several departments. In terms of the changes of people below, either in that department or elsewhere, that's ongoing. So it depends on the department. I don't have a specific answer for you. If you have a specific person or Della, can you raise your hand? Reverend Della, you can leave that with us. But we're in the process. And I would say this, just because you were in the last administration doesn't disqualify you by any means. But we have a pretty clear sense of what we're about. And we need folks who are philosophically consistent. I think that's the point you're making. Temperamentally, I think is a good way to put it. And that's what we're trying to do. And we've got a mix of that, but it's a work in process. We're almost 100 days in, so it'll probably take us, my guess is another 100 days to get this to the place we get the team on the field that we believe is the team we're going to go with. Okay. Great question. Well done. Marilyn, what do you got?
Good evening.
Hello, ma'am.
Good evening.
Well, I got to defer to my
Governor,
my
how
colleague.
are you?
I'm well.
Great, great.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
You got this one written down?
My name is Jacqueline Hinkson.
Bring that right up there, Jacqueline.
My name is Jacqueline Hinkson. And I addressed this to you before. I just would like to know, how can we stop the New Jersey state surcharge payments from being acting as an extortion system to build revenue for the state, because this causes economic hardship and student failure?
Good question. Surcharges in education, or?
Surcharges on tickets, violations for tickets, suspensions in the motor vehicle commission.
In motor vehicle? Mm-hmm. And your point is it leads...
My point is the amount of fees, monthly fees that the drivers pay after they have paid off their fines is acting and becoming an extortion.
Yep.
Just to build revenue for the state.
Yep.
So we need to curtail it or redevelop it, redesign it so that the people can go when they go to work. They're not paying all of their little paycheck
to some fine or something. Yep. All right, let's good question.
Part one.
Yeah, part one, okay,
Part two is I'd like to know, when are you going to post the bill 3119 regarding the foreclosures of residents, mortgage foreclosures, and under some circumstances, it places additional requirements on attorneys and students.
Okay.
And the families, hardship and student failure.
Okay. You got part three, or is that good?
No, that's it.
This is not like the Godfather movies, right? Okay, on the second one, I don't post bills. So I'll what was it again? What number?
That's 3119.
Okay.
Assembly Bill
I'll ask or defer to my legislative colleagues. We have had a huge foreclosure crisis in this state, as a general matter. We lead the nation, we lead America in foreclosed homes. And lots of people have been taken advantage of as a result. Secondly, on your first question, part one, I can't speak specifically about, I promise you we'll follow up and look at, Carrie will follow up and look at the reality. But we've been, it's a classic, again, I don't want to be, at a certain point, we're looking forward, but what we've inherited was, again, that narrative of we're going to, quote unquote, keep your taxes down, but we're going to rip your eyes out in a whole bunch of other areas that are non-tax taxes. I mentioned NJ transit fares are up 36%. These fines and fees are another good example of that. If you cross the Hudson River, the toll you have to pay is up 80-something% over the past 8 years. So we got to get this thing back in transparent. Folks understand it, and they feel like it's a fair deal.
Okay, I'd
Thank
like
you.
to work with whoever you...
Okay, let them know. Hillary, what do you got? Hello, ma'am.
Hi, Governor Murphy. My name is Wanda.
Hi, Wanda. I'm Phil.
Nice to meet you again.
Likewise, good to see you.
Thank you. I wrote my question down. Please forgive me.
Okay. Oh, it's a long one.
I'm sorry.
Is this a question or
it's a
speech?
question. Well, it might be both.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. So I am actually a case manager at University Hospital.
We have to get that up.
I'm a case manager at University Hospital.
Yep.
And an HPAE member for Local 5089.
Yep.
My question is, under the previous administration, the state did not meet its obligation under Chapter 45, which is the UMDNJ restructuring law, that said the state would financially support the hospital to ensure the community services will be maintained at University Hospital. Instead, funding has been reduced to the hospital every year since. Now, further funding may be jeopardized as Rutgers RWJ Barnabas has signed a letter of intent to affiliate, which states that all graduate medical education funding that Rutgers receives will be attributed solely to RWJ Barnabas facilities. HPAE and our labor coalition partners have raised concerns with legislatures that any reduction in funding to University Hospital threatens the financial stability of our hospital. In addition,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, but let's...
In addition, the
I think I
residents
get
of
the point, by the
Newark,
way.
you got the point? Okay.
University Hospital needs to be funded. Is that the
We need
punchline?
to be funded. However, we want to maintain being a level 1 trauma hospital, and we want to be vibrant in serving this community.
So you all kidding aside, may I?
Yes.
University Hospital is a really important institution. The county executive, the mayor, my whole team, their whole team have actually just recently met. Our folks had a follow-up meeting 2 days ago, maybe, that institution matters a lot to us. It matters to HPAE, it matters to the patients, it matters to the residents of this great community. It's kind of an iconic institution. Yeah. I would say not only should we not be talking about are you going to fund it or not, I think Joe joins me and the mayor, we think this could be amped up and be a much more impactful institution. Never mind, can we get it back to par? I think we can get it to I think we collectively think we can get it to a much better, higher place. So bear with us on that, all right?
Thank you.
Great question. Thank you. Brianna, what do you got? Brianna, make sure you come in and see some folks down in here who are also looking. Hi.
Hi, my name's Greg. I live in Freehold Township.
Greg, you're down by me.
Yes, sir.
I'm in Middletown.
Yes, you and I spoke on Ask the Governor 1015 just a little while ago. So
on the
March 12th.
Yeah.
Right, and at the time I asked you about property taxes. Why is no one talking about property taxes? Mine have more than doubled since my wife and I bought our house in 2001. Taxes keep going up, cost of living keeps going up, and you're just happy to spend. Everybody loves you here. This is a big government back-patting party because you're just happy to give everybody money. We've got county, we've got local, we've got state, freeholders. Everybody's got their hand out, but there's no more money. We've got $80 billion in bonded debt with more to come, $110 billion of unfunded liabilities with more to come. And you want universal pre-K and free college? Who's paying for this? Where is this money coming from? There's no money for any of this. You're going way too far. Why don't you talk about cutting back a little bit? Let's stop spending somewhere. How about for the policemen, for the firemen, for teachers? How about new employees don't get pensions anymore? Flip them to a 401k, like I have. I'm killing myself to save a few $100,000 for retirement. These guys get to retire at 45, and they get a $3 million constitutionally guaranteed, taxpayer-funded, free money for life.
What do you do?
And I'm on the other side of that because my wife's a teacher. So I'll be receiving that money too, but not in this state. I've got 7 years, 4 months, and 1 day, and I am gone. I am sending my daughters to school out of state with orders never to return. Okay. This state is too expensive, and you're making it worse.
I got the point. By the way, I want to be the governor for the folks who stay. Let me just say that. So a fair point, just because I want to make sure we get to as many questions, and the mayor had a debate tonight. We're doing a lot on property taxes.
Yeah, increases.
Okay, I listen to you. Do you want to listen to me? Please do. Please do. So we, first of all, our president has limited the deduction of state and local taxes, which we find dead wrong, and we're fighting that legally. We're also coming up, you know, sir, I love you. We have a lot of programs to cut property taxes. We're appointing a property tax, a shared services czar, fully funding public education. Check your property tax bill out. On average, public education is 53% of your bill, right? It's been underfunded by $9 billion over 8 years. We're committed to fully funding it. That's going to move the needle. That'll allow your local community and freehold to give you some latitude. We need to grow the economy. The economy hasn't grown. The fact of the matter is, when you don't grow, as I mentioned earlier, I think we've left $20 to $50 billion of economic activity on the table that we should have had, even if we had grown as an average state. That's $2 or $3 billion of state revenue that we've left. As I mentioned, shared services czar. We think we can get communities, freehold, and alongside a neighboring community to find services to share. I mentioned public education. That's a lot. That's a lot. We're battling. We're going to come up with a separate creative plan, which we unveiled in Monmouth County a couple of months ago, to allow you to pay your property tax into a charitable deduction reality.
That's a gimmick.
If it holds up from the IRS, it's not a gimmick. It'll save you money.
We've got to cut spending. There's too much spending.
We got it. I'll tell you what we're not going to do, though. We're not going to take it out of the backs of the teachers and the police and fire. I think that's the right way to do it. That's not going to happen. Let's go.
Hi, Governor. My name is Alicia Lee. And
Hi, Alicia.
How you doing? I just want to know, are there any plans to increase funding for after-school programs?
Yeah, so are there plans to increase funding for after-school programs? Yes, but probably not as much as we need. You know, my wife and I started actually in Monmouth County a a teen helpline, and it was born on the back of the fact that between 3:30 in the afternoon and 7 o'clock at night, you got a gap that we just don't effectively fill. And it's not just an urban reality, it's all over the state, regardless almost of what community you're in. We have some pieces of the puzzle. We believe in it. We need more, to be frank with you. But we're beginning, I promise you. What do you got, Marilyn?
Good evening, Cassandra, Doc, and eventually, Governor, you and I will sit down because I meet with governors, like I meet with Joe. When I want to talk about the county issue, I meet with Joe. When I want to talk about state issues, I meet with Teresa, like I meet with them. So eventually, we're going to sit down. But for tonight,
yes,
so when I call Cassandra, Doc, set up that meeting with him first, and then after that, I'll meet with the constituents and whoever. I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Della, raise your hand, Reverend.
Then I'll meet with the aides after I meet with him first, because that's what we do.
Chuck.
But my question to you is, and I wouldn't have known this had Governor McGreevey not said something about it. But I'd like to know, how is it that Governor McGreevey, and I love Governor McGreevey, but how is it that he is a part of his program is a part of the budget? Now, I don't know if you changed your mind, but I know the argument, he had a problem with you not funding his program. I hope you're still not making him a line item on the budget. How is his program getting $4 million when you have other programs, and you said hi to Dr. Durr, and he gets on my nerves, Dr. Durr, but he's doing the same thing. In fact, he has land, more land than Governor McGreevey. No, I would have said it here. But he's doing the same thing that Governor McGreevey is doing. Like, he don't have to steal no place to do it. Like Governor McGreevey had to fight the churches because he wanted to take over. But how is he getting $4 million to do what Joe Carter over on Sussex Avenue is doing, who only got probably $75,000? How is it? Because the problem for me is, like McGreevey said, at the reentry conference, he have every year. And he made a joke about it. A lot of Catholics and Jews were there. So, I had to stand up and say, yeah, but the Baptists are here too. So how is it that, the Catholic Charities and, McGreevey, but yet we have black organizations here, and I don't know if it's a black thing or if it's a political thing, but we have organizations right here that do the same thing that Governor McGreevey does and don't get nowhere near $4 million. So that's a question for Teresa, because she's the one that's voting on it, Nina, because she probably still sitting on the appropriation committee giving out the money, and then you.
Okay, I'll take it for the team for the time being. I don't know what happened to Dr. Durr, though. I needed him there. He's back. Oh, he's still here. He's behind me. Oh, there he is. There you go. Just to make sure you knew we weren't talking about you behind your back, my friend. Listen, let me make the broader point, if I may, and we could talk about one program versus another some other time. Here's the broader point. We need comprehensive criminal justice reform. So there's a very important criminal sentencing commission that's been dormant for the past 8 years. Joe was with me and others in East Orange. About 6 weeks ago, we restarted that commission. And that commission is now not just looking at sentencing, it's looking at everything. From before young people or any people get in the system, while they're in the system, when they come out of the system. As part of that, and by the way, again, we have the biggest white, non-white gap of persons incarcerated in America, which is shameful, right? And there are lots of different reasons for that. Frankly, it is a driving, I don't want to get into a big argument about this. It's a driving reason why we believe we should legalize adult use marijuana, because that's a big contributor to the gap, the white non-white gap. But the reentry piece is important to us. Let there be no doubt about it. I'll leave aside who's getting what, etc. There's, I think, in our budget, $94 million of reentry money. It matters. We have too many kids in this. It's almost overwhelmingly young people of color. I'm a former national board member of the NAACP, so I see it as much through that lens as I see it through being the governor of this great state. We have too many young people who do 3 years, what I say 3 years hard, rest of your life semi-hard. They never get back to par. That's unacceptable. And we've committed to making sure that we have a robust system around the state, particularly because it's disproportionately a reality in the urban communities that get kids, young people in particular, but everybody, that when they've paid their price, we have to embrace them. And that includes everything, including things like voting rights, which I'm supportive of. Let's get, you paid your price, let's get this back to par. So you and I will continue. What do you got, Hillary? A couple more, and we're gonna fold it up. How are you, sir?
All right, good. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you.
What's your name?
John Caniglio.
Hey, John.
And I'm a teacher, and I'm the president of the Dover Education Association in Morris County.
Good for you, man. Good
Thank
stuff.
you.
Welcome coming in from Dover.
Thank you. My question is, we've been working 10 months without a contract, and there are a lot of other districts in the Morris County alone. I think there's 5 that have been working close to a year without a contract as well. Jersey City was just on strike, as you know. And the main reason for this is Chapter 78. That's the big reason. Board of Eds, yes. Board of Eds are just not listening to us. They're just saying, no, we're not going to give relief, we're not going to give relief, and that's why all of these districts are on strike, or all these districts are without a contract. What is the plan? We need your help. We need your help. What is the plan to help us with Chapter 78?
Yeah, I don't have a crisp, John, thank you. I don't have a crisp, this is the 3-point plan, but, you know, this is, I've said this before in rooms with NJEA or with AFT rooms, whatever it might be, that I think even the folks who had the worst of intentions with Chapter 78 never expected that 8 years later, teachers, educators would be taking home less money than they were in 2010, right? I don't think even your worst enemies expected that to be the case. And that's unacceptable. That's getting our arms around and trying to figure out health care in particular and how that is paid for and shared. That's probably the biggest piece of this. And the answer is we don't have a full, robust answer or program, but we get the problem. So I'm not saying 80% of this is understanding what the issue is, but we get it. And in particular, as it relates to health care, that's a big element of trying to crack the back of this. And again, this is something, I'm a big believer in the power of organized labor. And I'm a big believer that collective bargaining is sort of the Intel chip inside of the organized labor concept. And the problem with Chapter 78, among other things, is that concept was trampled on, right? So it was, I was looking for you, by the way, on the other side, you moved. We've had this conversation. It was trampled upon, and then the deal was welched upon, right? So you were forced into something, and then you have kept up your end of the bargain. Right. Not only were you forced, but the other side of the bargain walked away from their deal, which is why my friend from Freehold, with all due respect, how do you ask folks to make concessions when we've left people at the altar for 20 years? I don't get that. I don't know why you'd believe that the state... No, I'm not saying that... we're not going to agree on everything. I'm not saying that to be your friend, but that's just the reality. We're a state that, you know, when rating agencies have downgraded us 11 straight times, and we've left countless thousands of public sector employees at the altar for now 20 years, we've lost the very important trust factor. So I will tell you, it may not be easy. We may not always agree. I suspect we won't. But if it kills me, we're going to be the state again that people trust, including educators. So bear with us and good luck. By the way, it should say something. It should say something. Brianna, you got to take care of some of these folks down front. It should say something that... Hold on. It should say something that teachers are striking in Kentucky and Oklahoma, and legislatures in places like Kentucky are overruling Republican governors, and it's being led in many cases, I don't know where John went, by educators. Okay, so we'll do one here, then if you stay, hang for a second, right there. Okay, hi.
Governor Murphy, it's an honor.
Likewise.
I'm Sharon Warsillo, MD. I was sitting at your table at the LEAD
Nice
conference.
to see you. Yes. You good?
I'm great. I just have a couple of things to give you, but I wanted to give you a compliment.
You can't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to give the governor a compliment. For 3 months, I read your approval rating is 44%. That's excellent.
Well, thank you. That does not include my family.
Okay. You know.
In which case it'd be 42.
You can't pick your relatives.
Please, jump in.
So anyway, I was supposed to be at your benefit on November 17th. Remember that one? LEAD conference?
Yes.
Nick tomorrow, et cetera, et cetera.
Friday night.
Exactly. And I was supposed to sit at your table, exactly. So what are you doing about, and I think I read something about the opioid crisis in New Jersey.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As a physician.
Good to see you. Can we take this from you or not?
Absolutely.
Will you take
sir.
this picture? Okay.
Well, I'll speak to him later.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be run out, so make sure we get okay. I'll get you. Hold on. Okay. So opioid crisis. Let me just say the most important thing. Let me just address this, sir. We'll get to you. We'll get to you. Let me say this. This was ravaging communities of color and urban communities long before it got the headlines. Right? And that doesn't, every single life is precious, but this is a long time brewing and growing. We put a plan out, and I'm going to be brief because I want to make sure other folks get a chance to weigh in here in our brief time. We put a plan out a couple of weeks ago. It's funding of $100 million. Basically is in three categories. One is at the point of attack, outpatient, distributed, intense contact with those in crisis. And we reiterated some of that. We looked at very extensively at what had been done under the Christie administration, some of which we agree with. For instance, the limit on prescriptions for 5 days. It's extraordinary how these opioids are dispensed like M&Ms. But other things we changed. So we're not going to do television advertisements because we just don't think those are effective. But a big chunk of money at the point of attack, a big chunk of money at societal factors that impact this, like homelessness, joblessness, healthcare factors that are beyond just the opioid crisis. And then lastly, it's the one part of healthcare that really jumps out in your MD, so you know better than I, where there's no data, there's no Moneyball ability to sort of say, if you do this, we know for sure that will work or this will not work. So we want to make sure we understand exactly what the causalities are, what the impacts are, what's working and what's not working. And that's a big chunk of what we're trying to do. So bear with us. What happened to the guy who was okay, what happened? Go. How are you?
Governor, I'm fine.
Jump in.
Well, my question is a little...
You get right up there.
Sorry, my question is a little different from everybody else's. My name is Terrell.
Terrell?
Yeah. So I'm a Newark born and raised resident. I lived here my whole life. Exeter County College graduate. I'm a teacher aide for Newark Public Schools, and I'm a self-published author. And I also have my own radio podcast. And since for the past months, I've emailed like everybody on your team. I commented all your pictures. I don't know. Do you run your page, your Instagram page?
Yeah,
you do.
I'm one of the people who runs it.
One of the people. Well, yeah. So you have to. I'm sure somebody, whoever part of your social media team, has to see me under all of your pictures. So I want to ask you.
What's the question?
I get to it. Yeah. So I want to ask you, face to face, man to man, will you please come on my podcast? Please, please. It's the only. Do
you have a phone?
Yes.
Let's take a picture at least. We'll get that going.
Yeah, I mean.
All right, I'll leave it to somebody. Can someone follow up with Terrell? You're next, so stay right there. I apologize. Can you take a picture? Let's go. Okay, someone follow up with Terrell, all right? Nice to meet you. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, sir. First, I want to compliment you because I followed you from the beginning to the end. I'm Denise Cole, and I'm an education advocate here in the city. You are doing sensible voter registration laws, but you need to do sensible equity laws. When school board elections come up, it should be covered by the news. Everyone running in it should be covered in it, and everyone should have a fair and equitable chance to run and win for the school board, and that the polls show fair and equitable people on it, Joey D. And it's not all Democrat and no Republicans, or 13 Republicans and 125 Democrats. I want fair legislation. I want you to also look at your funding, because your equal funding formula has to take into account in Newark, New Jersey, that the Catholic schools were shut down, whose children were never counted in the budget. So if you're going to do that, do it fairly. Count those children that were never counted, so when you do the equal fairness formula, that the traditional public schools truly get what they want. And please ask your education commissioner and your staff to have an open door policy. I need to meet with your education commissioner. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
And I want to thank you for getting elected.
I love you. Thank you for that. All right. What do you got?
Hi, Governor. Oh, hello. Hi, Governor. My name's Amy. Nice to meet you.
I was going to lose you there a while ago.
For a second you were, and this is?
Emma Jablonski.
There you go. And I wanted to tell you, on behalf of myself and members of the Fair Funding Action Committee, we come from underfunded schools in New Jersey, and I'll speak for myself. I voted for you, and I'm very supportive of your legislative agenda. But on school funding, when I hear you talk about making New Jersey fairer and stronger and values versus value, every time you say these things, it knocks the wind out of my sails, because nothing about that budget was fairer or stronger for the kids in Kingsway that are funded at 48%, or this child that's funded at 20%. Yep. And I know that you're going to say that you funded the formula based on statute. And I want to echo, because this is something that's bipartisan in nature, what Senator O'Scanlan said, that you chose not to follow statute in some areas of the budget, and in other areas you did. And this area, that means the most for our future, you chose to follow the statute to the law, and you didn't have to. And our kids are the ones that are being hurt by this. And so when I speak with members of the legislature, when my daughter speaks to members of the legislature, when members of our communities go and talk to legislators, they say that they're supportive of really doing three things to help our communities out. And that's, first of all, acknowledging the $1.9 billion in underfunding for our public school system. Yep. I am. Two is the reallocation of $700 million in adjustment aid. And the third is the removal of growth caps that hurt districts like ours that have sustained huge amounts of growth, and we aren't getting funding for students like this one that are sitting in seats. Yep. And Governor, I want to believe you that you're going to do the right thing for my kids. But at this point, when I hear from everyone else and I don't hear you making those commitments, I'm afraid that I can't believe in your agenda anymore.
Thank you. First of all, what's your name?
Emma.
My daughter's name is Emma. What year are you in?
First grade.
First grade, all right. Listen, thank you. Look, come on back and sit down, and we'll... so this isn't the first time, as you all know, because we were down having this conversation with some of your colleagues in Willingboro a couple of weeks ago. We'll just tell you, help is on the way. I just got to ask you to believe. I mentioned earlier that we're putting more money in, and we were working with the legislature. We literally had a meeting a couple of days ago with the leadership chiefs of staff on this very topic. We accept that the formula isn't right. I haven't been here for the past 10 years. I just got here 3 months ago. I'm on your side. We're committed to figuring this out. You have my word. I can't figure it out tonight, but we're committed to figuring it out. And we understand. Well, I need the legislature. We're working together. The legislature is working together. I don't agree with, Senator O'Scanlan is a very good friend of mine. I don't agree with him. If we had to follow the law, we have. But I want to tell you, think of me as on your side. Think of it very different than what it's been, which is you had people on the other side who were against us. We're not going to be that person, I promise you.
It goes back to Brendan Byrne.
Yeah.
It's been underfunded for 40 years.
Yep.
This isn't 8 years. It goes back.
Fully fund it and get a formula that makes sense with the current realities in all these communities. We have this won't make you feel any better, but the formula, the numbers that we put out, 94% of the school districts had an increase, 6% were flat, and 0% went down. That's a fact. But I understand the issues. We're going to...
trying to fund 94% of them. Find funding for the 65%. We're underfunded.
Okay.
Like this kid
Yeah.
deserves more than 20%.
I agree. Listen, you've got to believe me,
We're
Emma.
worse opioid crisis. What are these kids
Yeah.
going to do
Yeah.
when they're laying off athletics, librarians, music?
I hear you.
What are we going to do with those kids after school? Who's going to get to them first?
We're-
Our teachers or people with opioids?
Listen, I'm with you. I'm with you. We're going to figure this out. We're going to figure this out. We got one more. You should. That's what Paul. That's why we're elected official. We got one more. I assume you're from Newark because you got a Newark hat on.
Yeah, right on. Good seeing you again.
Likewise.
Governor. Resident of Newark, of course. And I just want to say that you talked about Newark being the greatest city, in the state of New Jersey. But I'm here to say that Newark is the poorest residents in the city under the leadership that we have for 5, 10, 15, and 20 and 25 years. So my question is to you, what is your plan to help us, from the oppressed system and the people who's been in place? How can you be able to help us? And then I have another question. Also, if you provided EDA money to the Essex County, the Donald Payne Seniors Trade School, I need you to actually work with them if the EDA covered some of the expenses, because they need to open up that to not just the youth, but also the adult population out of the city of Newark and in the county of Essex.
Okay. The second one, we're going to come back to you. Della, help me out, somebody with that. And Joe, you could help out, right?
Yeah, first of all, EDA did not fund it. Came from the state. EDA did not fund it. Came from the state department. State funding with that. And as far as Donald Payne School, which we're all very, very proud of, we're going to be open up in September. That is going to be for the kids, but it's also going to be for the community. All right, and the community will be invited, and you will be involved, and we will have nice schools for adults and stuff there. It's going to be the best thing that happened in the city in a long time when it comes to education.
When are you opening, Joe?
September.
September, huge. On your first point, and I think we're gonna wrap it up here just because everyone's telling me time is up. You've had really good leadership, in my opinion, in this city. And I'll just look at the current mayor as an example of that. He can't do it alone. The city council can't do it alone. The county government can't do it alone. They need a governor who cares about the inequities, who cares about level of poverty. And by the way, I didn't say earlier, please make sure you and I understand each other in this, that Newark is where it needs to be. It's on a path there, but it has a long way to go, but it's making huge progress. At the end of the day, you need a governor who's a partner, who believes, as I do, that you shouldn't have people working full-time or multiple jobs and living below the poverty line, because that's what you have in this state right now. That's why we stand for things like minimum wage getting to $15 and earned sick leave and child dependent care, maybe caregiver tax credit, fully funding education, making pre-K and college affordable. The things that turn poverty, we know just based on experience, that turns it apart. It turns it over into a better place. Investment in education, whatever it might be. As good as the mayor and council and county government is, you need a governor who shares that vision, who says, you know what, I care about cracking the back of poverty. I want to be your partner. All I can say to you is, we're only 90 days in or 100 days in. I believe that with all my heart. I believe that's what we've been all sent to do, which is to get this state, as I said, stronger, but importantly fairer. If we're just stronger and we don't bring ourselves together and bring people above the poverty line, we will not have succeeded. You have my word.
Yeah,
all right?
We got millions of dollars that's put into homeless prevention, and we still have a crisis with that. We got high foreclosure here, and we don't have the one-for-one or the fair equity with the housing for the people to meet the needs of the residents in the city. So they're giving housing to luxury apartments, but not with the residents that's living here.
But I'm optimistic we can get that right. We're digging out of 8 years where affordable housing got kicked down the road. in the courts, and that's no way to manage it. It's the biggest factor in the segregation reality we have in our state, by the way, is the absence of affordable housing. And that's a big part of what we're trying to crack the back of. All right?
So could we do follow-up on your...
Yeah, 100%. That's why they're here. That's why these folks are here. I promise you, we got everyone who wants to get to a debate.
Hello, Governor.
Real quick, ma'am.
Hello, Governor. I'm Jackie Gradington, President of the East Orange Education Association.
Hi, Jackie. Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you again. And I just want to thank you for conversations we've had about school to prison pipeline and so forth, and what you're doing. And I know it's going to take time. Nothing is absolutely perfect now, but I do appreciate all the comments. You hit all the spots. And the most important thing to me is that for 8 years, my sister and I, when someone said, "What did you do?" it was, now, once again, it's I am a teacher. And thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you for that. If I don't, real quick though, can you promise?
Okay, promise.
God bless you.
Okay.
I'm worried you're going to have a heart attack over here. If I don't.
I've been refusing the park tests since it started, okay? This year, when I submitted my refusal, the child study team, because my son is a 10th grader and he's got learning disabilities, they told me that
How
they
old is
were
he,
not, 15, yes, that I could not refuse the park test. Now, I'm not against assessments, but I'm against the park because I feel it discriminates against.
The answer is I'm not sure why that would have happened. Can I get someone to come back to you?
Yes.
What's your name?
Anna.
Anna, nice to meet you. God bless your son. And I don't know, thank you for what you said about teachers. I agree with you, by the way. Time to put them back. Well, I gotta go. Thank you, everybody. God bless you all. Thanks for coming out.